Welcome to Craig Loves to Crochet. I'm Tonya and today I'm going to show you how to make these lovely little twinkle toes slippers. These ones are made in pink double crochet and they're being modelled by Katie Craig. Katie, would you like to turn to the side please, darling? Oh, lovely. So as you can see, they're very simple to make. They're quite a simple design. Really, I've just made them with double crochet. And the top here is a lovely little scallop, very easy shell stitch here across, and then there is the little cord that runs through that. Turn to the front, my darling. Thank you, sweetheart. You put your feet together and then we can see the pretty little reason why you've nicknamed these twinkle toes. And then on the edge we've picked some little beads to go on the edge to make them little twinkle toes. They're absolutely fantastic. They mould to your feet and they're very comfortable. You can make them in any size, any length really, depending on the chain that you start off with. Okay, so these are the ones that we're going to make, and Katie's chosen the wool that she wants for these, the double crochet wool. And as you can see, I think you can see, it's really sparkly wool. She really likes sparkly wool. It's got a little sparkle in it. Exactly the same design as the other two. Do you want to turn around, my darling, so we can see the front? That's it. And you've got, as you can see, we've only made one because we're going to show you how to make the second one exactly the same, because they're both made the same. And you've chosen the beads and everything for these, the gold and the silver, and a little love heart you've got on there, haven't you, Kate? Okay, so these are the ones we're going to make. Katie, would you like to sit down so we can see the sole of the slipper as well? Okay, so just very quickly, this is the sole of the slipper, and as you can see, it's very neat. It's quite compact and it's quite sturdy actually, isn't it, to walk on, Katie? Nice and thick because it's a nice double knit wool. And if we turn to the side, you can see on the side you can do as many double crochet rows as you want to, depending, as I said, on how high you would like your slipper to be. And then obviously the front, you can just tie it up as tight as you want. We've left it quite slack, haven't we, Kate? Okay, so what you'll need to make the other slipper to match this one is some Red Heart shimmer yarn. This one is 100 grams. It's double knit and the lot number is K8. It's a lovely soft yarn, but also quite moldable and pliable, so your slipper can move and stretch the shape of your feet. I'm using a 3.5mm crochet hook today. You'll also need a yarn needle just to stitch in your ends and also to put your beads on. So you'll need some coloured beads, whatever type you want. And I like to use a thimble, and lastly a pair of scissors. So let's get started. Right, so firstly, the way we measure our feet for the slipper is we measure from our heel, not right at the end of the heel, but the beginning of our heel as a flat foot, to the ball of our foot. So that takes us to about here. And the reason for that is that as we're working in the round, the slipper actually grows. So it will grow to the right size of your foot and incorporate your toe and the curve of your heel as well. So I have, for my daughter, her foot size is a 13 to a size 1, and I've measured from her heel to the ball of her foot. That's where your big, kind of like the big bit of your big toe is, and I've worked out that that's 33 chains. But just measure your own foot and you will get the same measurement, and just chain until you get to that measurement. Okay, so let's start off with the chain then. Okay, so we'll start with our first chain then. So we're going to chain 33. So we'll start our chain off. I always start it off by crossing my yarn over like this, sticking my needle through the loop, pulling the thread through the loop so you have a nice chain. So that's our first stitch on the hook. Okay, so we need to chain 33. So the way we do that, I like to hold my the tail of my yarn between my forefinger and my thumb. We have our hook in our right or left hand, and we pick our yarn up and pull it through our loop. Again, pick our yarn up, so that's 1 stitch, pull it through our loop, 2 stitches, pick our yarn up, pull it through the loop, 3 stitches, and so on. So I need 33, so I'll see you when I get to the end of my chain. Okay, so I've completed my 33 chain, and as you can see, it's taken me from the heel of my slipper to where would be the ball of the foot here, and then this room here is for your toes, and your slipper will expand as we start to grow our slipper. Okay, so now what we need to do is pop that away, is we need to catch hold, and so this is the end of our, so I'll just zoom in a little bit. So here we have the end of our chain, there, our 33rd chain. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to that chain there, because that will be our last chain here, and I'm going to chain another 2, 1, 2, and this is going to be our turning chain. So we're going to do 33 now into our chain, 33 double trebles. No, we're not, we're going to do 33 double crochets. So we need to catch hold of our yarn and into the stitch that we've been holding on to, so it'll be the 3rd stitch along now. So we've got our 1, 2, and into the 3rd stitch we're going to make our first double crochet. So we've got our needle through the 3rd chain, going to pick up our yarn, we're going to pull it through our 3rd chain, so we have 3 stitches on our hook. We're going to pick our yarn up again, and we're going to pull it through the first 2 stitches, then we're going to pick our yarn up again, and we're going to pull it through the last 2 stitches. So that's our, I'm going to class that as our 2nd stitch now. So this one's our 1st, this one's our 2nd now, because we've done a turning chain. So we're going to chain in the 3rd stitch now, so 3rd chain, so pick up our yarn, into the 3rd chain, oh, push it through, pull it through our 3rd chain, so we've got our 3 stitches, pull it through the first 2, pull it through the last 2, and now we have our 2 double crochets and our turning chain, and we're going to complete that right to the end of our chain, and I'll come back to you just before we get to the end. Right, so I've finished my first row of double crochets into my foundation chain. So we have, just to remind us, we have our turning chain here, and then our 33 double crochets across here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start and double crochet on the 2nd side of our foundation chain. So I'll zoom in a little bit so you can see how to start this off. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work around, so we have the 2nd part of our chain, the top end of our chain now facing upwards, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to create our first stitch into this back of this chain here. So this is our double crochet that we've just created, the last of our 33 chain, and we're going to crochet into the back of that chain, of our foundation chain. So pick our yarn up, put our tail back so it doesn't get in our way, pick our yarn up, and what we're going to do is we're going to go into this first loop here. This is our first chain. Oops. There we are. You can actually crochet over your tail if you want, might make it easier. So we'll pick our loop up, pull it through that first chain, pick another loop up, pull it through the first 2 loops, and then pick our yarn up and pick it through, put it through the next 2. So that's our first stitch. Now the way that I work it is that for every one of these double crochets, we need a double crochet into the corresponding back of the chain. Okay, so we're working back over, back down. So we'll do our next one. So that's our first, so that's one. Okay, into there. So we need to be going into our second one, which is here, to make our next. The first bit's a little bit tricky, but as long as you just follow the stitches, you can't really go wrong. And again, third one. So we're working into our 33 stitches all the way up till we get to our foundation chain, and then I'll show you what we do when we get to our foundation chain. So you only need to be crocheting up to that foundation chain. Okay, and I'll see you there. Right, so we've come to the end of our chain again, and now what we're going to do is we need to just finish off this row by chaining into, double crocheting, and just zoom in so you can see. So if you recall, let me take this loop out, we had our turning chain. This is our turning chain. So we did 2 chains, 1, 2, and sorry, we did 2 chains, 1, 2, and it's these 2 chains that we're going to work on now. So the first stitch that we're going to do is in this first chain here, the bottom of our turning chain, and we're going to do a double crochet into this chain here first of all. So I'll just zoom out a little bit, give myself a little bit of room to work in. So we'll do our double crochet into the bottom, so it's this chain here that we're going to do it in. So the bottom here, so we're going to double crochet into that one there. That's 1, a double crochet into there, and then what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch into the top of the turning chain. So this chain here, we're going to slip stitch. So the way we do a slip stitch is we just literally put our hook through the stitch, pick up the yarn, pull it through. Don't pick up any more yarn, we literally just pull it through the stitch, and that is the end of that row. Right, so that's our foundation, what we call our foundation row completed. The first row really, our first round of the sole of our slipper. Now what we need to do is we need to carry on almost the same. So we need to chain 2, so 1, 2, and we're going to double crochet all along, all around here, picking up the stitches around here and all around to the end, and we'll slip stitch. So we'll do this together because this is going to be our second round, but our first row as such. So if we have a little look, we've actually already done our first chain, so we need to be going into this stitch here. Just zoom in a wee bit. So we have our foundation chain, our turning chain, sorry, here, 1, 2, and now what we're going to do is we're going to see this little wee man here, we're going to double crochet into there and each stitch accordingly. So double crochet, picking up our yarn as we've done before into our first stitch, double crochet, there we are, starting off. And we don't really need a stitch marker for this either, because we've done our turning chain. Oops, I've split the wool there. We don't really need to, because we can already see where the end of the row is because we've done our double chain, our double crochet, our 2 chain at the beginning. So all the way along, all the way round. So I'll meet you at the end of this as we're coming to the turning round. So as we come to turn our work around, I'll meet you at the end there, just to show you how I do that bit. Okay, so we're coming towards the turn in our work here on our second round. So just keep working through round our stitches in our double crochet. So there's another stitch there, another double crochet into that one, and a double crochet into this one, just makes a round, and then a double crochet into this one. Beautiful, so easy. And then we're round to the other side now, and basically we're just going to work our way around, right the way around to the first 2 chain that we did at the bottom here, and I'll see you there. Okay, so we're at the end of our second round, and I have one more stitch to do. So we have our 2 chain here, so there's 1, 2, and this is our first stitch here. So we need to be slipping into this stitch here. So let's just zoom in a wee bit so we can see a little bit clearer what we're doing. Okay, so as you can see, we have our 2 chain, 1, 2, and we're going to slip into that 2 chain there. There we are. So slip stitch, the same as I've shown you before, and then this stitch here is the first stitch we're going to be starting our next round. So we need to 2 chain, 1, 2, and then we're going to be doing our round again all the way around, and that will be our 3rd round. Now then, for this pattern, for my daughter's pattern, for her slipper, I've counted and I've done another 6 rows. So however many rows you want, really, however many rows you want to do to make it as high as you want it. I mean, we've just made like a little slipper, but if you want a boot, then you might want to do maybe 7, 8, 9 more rows. But I'll catch up with you where we're going to learn how to do see the scallop edge here. So first of all, so we've got our 6 rows to do next, for me anyway, and then obviously we need to make our holes for our cord, and then we're going to be doing our scallop edge just to make it really pretty. So I'll come back and show you how to do that. For the time being, I'm going to carry on and do another 6 rows, the 2 chain, slipping into the last 2 chain, and then 2 chaining again, and all the way around for another 6 times, and I'll catch up with you then. Right, so I've finished my 6 rows. These slippers are a really simple shape, as you can see, and the stretchy yarn just moulds the slippers to the fit and shape of your foot. And if you recall, when we did our first chain, our foundation chain, and I said just to do the chain to the ball of your foot, you can see how much the slipper has grown, which is why we've done that. Otherwise you'd end up with Yeti slippers, I think, if we did them to the full length of our foot from heel to toe. Okay, so let's start and what we're going to do now is the little loops here for our cord, for our lovely little cord here. So we'll start off and do those now. Right, to make the spaces for our chain tie later on, we're going to chain 2, so 1, 2, and then what we're going to do is we're going to chain an extra one, because when we come to slip stitch, we're going to slip stitch into the second stitch. Then we're going to miss the first 2 double crochets, and we're going to half double crochet into the 3rd one. This is just for this first stitch. So miss the 2 into the 3rd one, put our crochet hook into the stitch, the double crochet, top of the double crochet stitch, hook the yarn over and pull through the double crochet stitch. We're going to loop the yarn over the hook again and pull through all 3 of the stitches on your hook. Then we're going to chain 1, and we're only going to miss 1 double crochet this time, so we're going to miss 1 to make our next hole, and we're going to double crochet into this one here. So again, loop over our hook into the top of the double crochet, pull the hook through, loop over onto the hook again, and pull through all 3 to make our half double crochet. And we're going to do this all the way around until we get to the end of our chain, and then I'll show you how we do our slip stitch. Right, so we've completed the row. I've completed the row of spaces along here, and we're just at the end of this row here. So we've finished a half double crochet and a chain, and then we're going to miss this double crochet here, and we're going to slip stitch into the second chain, because if you recall we did a 3 chain. We did two chains and then a chain. So if we slip stitch into the middle chain here, then that will create our final space. There you go. Right, so now we have our final space. Now we're going to do our lovely little scalloped shell edging, and that's going to be the final thing we do. So we don't need to chain anything on this row. All we need to do is to slip stitch into the space, so this big space here, just literally slip stitch into the space, and then into the next space what we're going to do is we're going to do 5 double crochets. So if you can remember how we did the double crochets, 1, yarn over, loop through the hoop, through the space, through the first 2 stitches, then the second 2, so that's 2, 3, whoops, 4, let's just pull my yarn a bit, getting a bit tight there, 5. So there we have our 5 double crochets, and we're going to slip stitch again into this next space. So into this space here we're going to slip stitch, so we'll slip stitch into that one, and then we're going to do 5 double crochets into the next space. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, split the yarn there, the last one, 5, and as you can see, there we are, we have made 2 of our little shell shapes, if I can get my tongue in. Right, slip stitch into the next space, and we're just going to carry on in this fashion all the way around. So I'll see you when we get to the end here, just to fasten off, slip stitch off, and then that's almost our slipper finished. So I'll see you at the end. Right, so we've almost finished our lovely little row of shells, and we've just come to the end here, and I'm going to show you where to slip stitch just to finish that row. So if you recall, at the very beginning of this row we slip stitch into our first space, which is here, and then we went on to do our 5 double crochets. So what we're going to do is we're going to slip stitch back into that first slip stitch into the front of the stitch, just catch our yarn, pull it through, and then that's us finished. So what we need to do is snip our yarn, catch hold of our yarn, pull it through that loop, and then that's finished, and we'll secure this thread in a moment. So really that's our slipper more or less finished. We just need to do our lovely little cord, our little tie cord, so that we can tighten the slipper to fit whatever size foot we need, whatever size the ankle is, or just round the foot, and we can tie it in a pretty little bow, and we can put our lovely little beads on as well. So we'll finish off with our cord next. For our cord, we need to we're going to be crocheting with the yarn double, so we're going to be using two pieces of yarn together, the same yarn, or if you want 2 different yarns. You need to leave about I would say 3 inches, maybe 8 centimeters at the end before you start your chain, and the same when you've finished. And the chain, as you're chaining, needs to measure approximately 3 times the length of your slipper. So that would be 1, 2, and 3 times the length. And then obviously you would need to leave your 3 inches at the end as well. So we'll start off with our chain. So we're leaving our bit at the end. Still using the same crochet hook, and it's quite a small hook for such a thicker yarn, but if you're doubling up, but it's the one that I'm using. So just chaining away. I know that for this length I need 110 chains, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure how many you will need. Right, I'll see you at the end of the chain. Okay, I've finished my cord with the ends here, so just to check, just to make sure, so it's 1, 2, yeah, about 3 times the length of my slipper. So now we need to put our beads on. Okay, so all we need to do now is just to put our beads on like this, just using our needle. Whatever beads you fancy. I've got some little yellow ones here, and I mean as many as you want really, however many you want, whatever colour or design you fancy, and then tie a knot at the end, and then a nice secure knot so it doesn't cut, so they don't come off. And then all we need to do then is to thread our cord onto our second slipper. It's time just to thread in and out of our spaces on our slipper. So obviously this is the top bit here, so we'll start threading. So we'll pop our cord through, we'll leave this end free, and we'll just slip, oops, in and out. Very easy, all the way around. You can see this is how. So if you can see, I'm slipping it in and out, and I'll see you round at the front when I've made a little surprise for us. Right, so we've threaded the cord all the way around. We're back at the front here, and what I've done is I've designed this really sweet little flower. It's just too easy for words. It's a 5-petal flower. I'll do a very brief tutorial on it, and I made it for a little pixie cloak that I'm designing at the moment, to go around the hood of this little baby pixie hood, and I thought that I would use this and put it onto my slippers. And the finished result, here we are. Katie's modelling them again. Thank you, Katie, once again. And we've put some flowers on, Katie. I've made some flowers for them. What do you think of those? Do you like them?
Yeah, they're really pretty.
I know. I might make them bigger flowers next time though. But you can do whatever you want. So thank you very much for watching Craig Loves to Crochet. And it's goodbye from me, Tonya, and goodbye from Katie.
Bye.
Please join me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Craig Loves to Crochet. I'll put the link down the bottom. If you really like the tutorial, please just press the like button. I'd really love that. Thank you very much. And I hope to see you soon again for another tutorial. Bye bye.